Okay, so I wanted to, this should definitely go, this is a definition, should go into your portfolio, you'll need it. If you have a vector space, we have a way, this is a measure of size, not distance. It's an abstraction of the absolute value. It's the Euclidean magnitude you talked about in 205 or 255, wherever you talk about magnitude of vectors. I know you talk about it in physics. They think about it differently. I just think of it as absolute value in other places. That's how I think of it. So basically, think about things that are properties of the absolute value. The first thing is that the absolute value of something, if the size of something is 0, then that vector must be 0. So that's the first property. The second property is that you can scale out scalars in the absolute value. It's usually R. So if you want to think of the field as being R, you don't know what a field is yet, but it's coming. And then you have the triangle inequality. Those are the 3 properties of being a norm. And if you're looking things up on the internet, like that might be a bit scary, but these are called normed vector spaces because now you have a notion of size.
What's the second variable that you have in this?
Which one? This? Let E be a vector space. Then this dot means function that you can plug things into. So it's a function. The dot means the things you put in. The inputs are from E, and the outputs are from R to R. So that dot just means it's a space holder for putting in values. Sometimes we put F of and then dot. That means that we're allowed to input things into it. That's what that notation means. So you probably want to put a little note because sometimes I use notation that you might not have seen before. And that little thing on the top says portfolio should go in there. So your magnitude from when you were a baby, that's the same thing, that satisfies all these things. And in fact, it should be in Stewart. If you sold Stewart back, I don't know what to say. I sold mine back too. I bought it later again, my calc book. Now, if you look at my shelves, I have a ton of calc books in there because reps come in to try to sell their calc book. So I have a whole bunch of calc books in there. Okay, 205, 255, wherever you learn vectors, you might have learned it also in physics. I didn't learn anything in physics. I went to a hippie school, so they said you can either take physics or econ. So I sat 2 days in physics, and I dropped it, and I took econ as my minor. So this is your Euclidean magnitude. It's also known as the 2 norm. Caitlin, have you hit this? Okay. It's unnatural, actually, if you think of this thing. It's weird. If you try to explain, let's say you're trying to explain to a freshman in high school what this is, it's weird. And you're saying, if you try to tell them, hey, this is a notion of size, I would actually say, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I just do this? Absolute value worked great for me up till now. Well, maybe not for everybody. But for those who got absolute value, it works just fine. Why can't I just take the absolute value of the sums?
Is there examples of
Norms, right? So R2, you don't. This is what you're used to, but there's other norms that work on R2 that satisfy all those properties, those 3 properties. And here's another one. This is a different one, right? Why do I have to square them and take the square? I don't know how long you guys spent with it, but we actually have in a medical class that I was teaching, we used this to do thresholds. And if you want to find shortest distances, you have to use that. It's ugly. It's a beast to actually use calculus on. So why can't I do this? It's easy looking. This is called the taxi cab norm. I'm going to kind of ask you why after you play with it a bit. It's also called the one norm. The distances go in a box, like on a grid. So taxi cabs must go on a grid. And the magnitude goes as the crow flies. So if you don't see that yet, we're going to see it on graph paper. I bet you there's 2 pages, so pass them on. So in-class assignments should go in your notes. There's 2 pages. Because that's how I've been delivering some of the content, is through in-class assignments.